massive delight to have you join us here on EEXSport FC's World Cup Daily. My name is Onah Kosi today. EEXSport FC itself, of course, a conglomerate football club, academy, football, we're learning a lot about us and what we represent, everything we're all about, and what we aspire to as we get familiar with each other through each episode. This clearly isn't a one-man job. So, in addition to the wholesome team behind the scenes, I've got, and very much to my delight, very special guests, a prominent sports journalist, football pundit, pioneer, and founder of Making a Great Thing, including the EA Sports franchise. Here's Mr. Emeka Enyadike. Next, and very importantly,
Thank you so
is
much.
a very exciting lady, KT Bakare, we call her. Cool too. Bakare is a top medical expert, superb broadcaster with the continent's biggest platforms, a Euro 2012 world record, the D Tigers, and much more. And you get to see certainly through the course of the show today. We also have with us Chioma Joan, the sports head, brilliant events manager here at EA Sports. Nigeria's capital territory. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little bit cliche, but the World Cup Daily show today.
It's a pleasure.
Right. So,
Thank you. Feels good to be out here.
great. Pleasure is really all mine. Let's start with you. I'm starting with you because your club has links with South Africa and the Green Bafana Bafana. In that sense, I suppose I can say congratulations because short of that performance against FC on Mexico from the opening game of the 2026 World Cup.
Well, I mean, look, the Bafana went in there. This was a game that was, it was a replay of the opening game of the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, where South Africa was host. And I still remember the build-up to that game. It was probably one of the loudest I've ever seen South African fans. You know, there was great anticipation, and not just South African fans, I think the whole of Africa, because it was the first time that Africa was hosting the World Cup. So the build-up to it was really a lot, and there was a lot of pressure. And I remember the weeks leading up to that, a couple of days before then, there was a Bafana parade around Sandton. If you know Johannesburg very well, Sandton is like the number one business hub, like prime real estate, and people were out there. They had a very fantastic parade, and that got everyone in the mood. And then in the game against Mexico, they scored first. Simpiwe Shabalala. That goal I still remember. And then there was a dance move that was practiced before then that we all saw on TV. And then Mexico eventually equalized. But that moment, you know, it was a very pivotal moment, a historic moment, because that showed that the World Cup had come to Africa. Between 2010 and now, it's 16 years. And that's a long time. Imagine kids who were born around that period, they only heard about the World Cup as a story. Getting South Africa versus Mexico in the opening game for this one was like a reminder that, you know, this was what it was for Africa. And you know, this game was a game of Mexico, by the way. This is the third time that they're hosting the World Cup. So they've got experience. They've done it before. They've got a lot of, they are regulars of the World Cup. And Bafana haven't been to the World Cup since South Africa hosted in 2010. You know, these players, you know, the Bafana players, most of them, for all of them, this was their first World Cup. And they're a very young team. They've done well, you know, in the last few years. They've gotten far in AFCON. They qualified for the World Cup ahead of Nigeria. So the expectations and the pressures were a lot on them. And then, you know, they were not helped by the fact that Mexico scored very early, the 9th minute. And Julian Quinones, who's the second top scorer, he has scored Cristiano Ronaldo in the Saudi Pro League. So I don't think they watched out for him. They probably paid too much attention to Jimenez. And he stepped in there and scored that very early goal. And that goal unsettled them. And, you know, I think the first 20 minutes was the problem for them. They came back into that game. And then, of course, they had the red cards. And then subsequently, they didn't really show that they wanted to get back into the game in more ways. And then they got another second red card. And it was only after that they tried to rally. But, you know, by then Mexico got a second goal. And Mexico could have scored more goals. Credit to the goalkeeper, Williams. And for Africa, this is not a good result, not a good start. I hope the Bafana still has 2 more games to play. I hope that they find they find it themselves to realize that, oh, look, this is one game they've lost, not the whole tournament, and the coach can make changes and maybe you never know, they can still qualify if they can get a result.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the game from start to finish. It left me scratching my head because I remember, I think they played the best round of football at that tournament. And even humbled the Morocco, who were still battling in that euphoria of the World Cup semi-final. They lost to Nigeria in the third, but nonetheless, I think they post that tournament, Bafana is outstanding. Actually, according to it, the loss is not only in the last 16. What should the Brewers get to get this thing back on track? As you said, 2 games left from the group stage. Next is against the Czech Republic next Thursday, and then South Korea, who to understand that still a very strong side, given how they performed against the Czech Republic themselves. What would you advise the Brewers to try to get right at the end of these remaining games?
To be honest, I think that they need to psych themselves. They need to psych themselves and just realize that this was the first game. Looking at the results from the other game, South Korea won. So it means that someone in the group has lost a game. So they have to realize that whoever has lost a game will give them a hard time. So if they win their next game, then they kind of level up somehow within the group. That would be my advice.
Everyone seems to be looking at that opening game at the World Cup from the point of view of how Paul Bafana, the Mexican, on the day. I mean, he played really, really well in front of their supporters. Are we guilty of not acknowledging that much and over-focusing on how Paul we perceive Bafana to have been on the day?
I think this question is just, it's a very beautiful question to start with, because the past how many hours after the game, it's just been a lot of banter and videos and caricature and comic relief. And I was just telling a friend of mine, we're on the phone, I was like, most of us are forgetting the football business that they came to the World Cup for. Okay, because as far as I'm concerned, the World Cup is a business, and let's focus on the Mexican team. Okay, I mean, it's so easy. I've just been swooning on over the stats on live score, yeah, because I like to look at the overall scores and stats at the end of every game. And I'm like, if I'm looking down, I'm still looking at it. They have like off-target shots, 7 shots on targets. They have 4 block shots, 5. Sometimes people are always like, off-target shots don't count because it wasn't really going to get you anything. But from where I'm sitting, I feel like if you're getting shots, you're getting something. It means you're moving. Men are at work, okay? And if your shots are getting blocked, of course, that means you're moving. And then I looked at the number of throw-ins they got. I looked at the number of, attempts that they made. And I tried to look at a bit of the heat map. There's this thing LiveScore has. It tries to put like very green around the boxes, yeah? That way you can tell the moves that the Mexican team were making. And I was so sorry for the South African team, okay? Because when I looked at their formation, I felt like this is not a formation you go to the World Cup with. What are you protecting yourself against? Come out and play football, okay? Like, apartheid is over. You don't have to protect yourself from anything anymore. Why do you have 5 guys behind you? What are they doing? And I had a lot of things to say because I feel sorry for them, and it's not banter. I feel really sorry for them because if you're going to play, what is 5-3 words in a World Cup? What are you playing that formation for? It's football business. You're there to entertain, do business, and play football. If you look at the Mexican team, of course, there are a few of the guys that we love. We know what these guys are made of. And you guys, we all remember, we know Raul Jimenez. We know how he is. He's not 25, okay? But he's a guy that's always focused on the business of attacking football. He will do what he has to do for his age. And then the guy from one of the Isles, he's not a joke. He's got about 20-something goals. It is not even up to 30. So these guys, if you're going against a team like this, from where I'm standing, I don't play football, but I work in the administrative part. You need to study your opponents, know where they have been, study their moves. If they are moving from one club to the other, you look at their shots, you look at their impact, you look at their stats. I'm not trying to banter South Africa, but it's past the Melody Sundown starts and the noises you make. I respect what they do in the South African League. But I keep telling some of my friends, I'm like, you will get so comfortable in your domestic league that you forget about the business that is out there, the international business of playing football. And it takes me back to, I'm so sad for the Super Eagles. I am so sad for us because these kind of places are where we thrive because we understand how to play football and do business. But South Africans, they're not ready. And if they're going to go into their next game against Czech Republic, it's already sad for them. And I'm still feeling sorry for them because they are not prepared. If they play this formation again, it's going to be bye-bye. And I'll be here for the banter.
There's a saying that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Our first taste of the World Cup, 2026 World Cup as a continent, is obviously not a good one. So it means our 9 other representatives have to do better in their opening games, starting with Morocco, who play Brazil on Saturday. How do you think the African side?
Sorry, was that meant for me? I didn't hear. How do I think the Africans are?
Yeah, well, nine other African friends. Only they have to avoid Bafana Bafana. Can you hear me?
Well, I mean,
I couldn't hear.
Oh,
I couldn't
sincerely
hear. Sorry,
apologize.
Kosi.
But if you can hear me, and then that's collectively speaking, continent. Morocco played Brazil on Saturday. How confident are you in what we've seen with the Bafana Bafana and our 9 other representatives differently and have reported content of their own test games and the 2020?
Chioma, are you taking that?
Oh yeah, I think I heard Kosi say, how confident am I with the 9 others?
Yes.
How do I feel? Okay, so the thing is, they are African countries, right? And going into this World Cup, I have been rooting for, I'll be there for Senegal. I want to watch Morocco. I want to watch Ghana because a bit of comic relief, yeah, for Ghana. And then Egypt, yes. These are the guys I'm actually here for. I'm not saying that others just came to do sightseeing and excursion, but I'm just saying these are the guys I feel can step up. I expect Senegal to go far. Seriously, I expect them to go far. From numbers, from history, from, the kind of team that they have been. When you go down the World Cup and all they've been through, they're coming up and how they go down and everything. And I feel like they have a lot to prove this period. And it's drama and business for me. They have a lot to prove. So I'm all for those 4 guys,
I think we've well spoken about we wish all of the African side today. So let's talk about some of the paraphernalia that surrounds a festival of football. Emeka, you saw the opening ceremony on Thursday. That you had seen before. And you have to go back to Qatar in 2022, before them Russia, then Brazil 2014, South Africa 2010, Germany 2006. And go further back, most especially you. Did you enjoy the opening ceremony?
I did. I sure did. I mean, for me, I think that the opening ceremony of the World Cup is always very, very interesting. I can even go back to '94 when we had Diana Ross and she missed the penalty with the net empty. She tried to kick the ball in the net. What I love about what we had, maybe because I'm Nigerian, I'm very excited about seeing Burna Boy and Shakira. And then, of course, the previous night there was Davido. But I mean, just the fact that we live in an age now where there's a lot more fusion of entertainment, lifestyle, and music, and the whole works, and then all of the activations and banter on social media. I thought the opening ceremony was good. It was lively, as would be expected of anything happening in the US. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to I saw a bit of the what happened with this. Yesterday's one was obviously opening game in Mexico. I'll see what happens with the other games as well. But the opening ceremony usually for the Olympics and the World Cup are different. And for the World Cup, fans can't wait for the game to start. So more often than not, they're wanting the guys in the opening ceremony to hurry up with whatever they're doing because they want to see the game. But with the Olympics, it's the storytelling around the opening ceremony. It's actually what we look out for more than the game itself. But with the World Cup, it's almost like it's a distraction. Like, guys should just finish quickly and get off the screen so that the game can start. But yesterday was a little bit different. The people actually loved it, and that's mostly because there was a lot of music, entrusted into it, so it was good, really, really good.
I mean, as you said, Nigeria, I was super proud to see our own brother boy alongside other stars, Shakira, even the good and the great, Gabriel was there as well. Which brings me to this question. I don't know if the term is, okay, it seems to have lost up a little bit, but if not, I think I'm going to have to ask you this. It's about the songs, the official songs for World Cup. We can go back to 2010 and we'll have many people argue and say that Waka Waka from Shakira is the best that there has ever been. Has this one grown on you? The Die Die, Shakira One Boy?
Not yet.
It has
Not yet. I think, yeah. Well, look, I think over the years, I've seen the opening songs of or the theme songs of the World Cup, and up until 2010, I think 2010 we almost had like 2 for 1, because we had Waka Waka with Shakira and the group from South Africa, and then of course we had the Coca-Cola World Cup song which had Keenan, Wave Your Flag. Both songs went and side by side. The last one in Qatar, there were a couple of those songs as well, but the Korean one took a while to get to me, and this time around there was one that Shakira released, which was Die Die. I still haven't warmed up to it. And then of course, to tell you how these theme songs happen, I can go back to '88 when the Olympics, they had a song by Hand in Hand by Sider Garrett. I still remember it pretty much till this day, because that was a song that really, really got to me from day one. This one, I believe that over the next couple of weeks, the more airplay it gets, the more I'll warm up to it. I actually followed the announcement that they were going to do the song. I saw the launch, but then when I saw them perform it yesterday, it was much better. And I think the more I watch it, I know how it gets. I'll probably play more of the videos over the next few weeks, and I'll get used to it. But music is a big part of it, and as Africans, it must be a thing of pride for us to have one of our own involved at that level. It felt really good.
I mean, well, to have KT join from Canada, listening to play Bosnia in a couple of hours. But I can confidently everywhere and all about the culture and the different parts of the world. Football is back to North America. I think compared to other parts of the world, it's not where football is the most popular. So how important is it for football to try to make inroads once again on that continent with the World Cup? The American economy, the showbiz, the lifestyle. How much do you think football as a sport can benefit from all of that?
I think it's so this is like the third circle of this big moment where football, what we call football and they call soccer, has been pushed to this level. The first will be when they got Pele in the old NASL, North American Soccer League, back in '76, when he came out. I mean, in the mid '70s, and then he played on and just his presence meant a lot of big soccer stars moved to America. Then there was the World Cup in '94, which was another moment. And then, of course, World Cup of FIFA for the first time made a big leap with their revenues, because a lot of companies in the US identified with the tournament. And then, of course, we've had a moment where David Beckham and Lionel Messi. First, David Beckham going to the MLS, and then people like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and then, of course, David Beckham and Messi now with Beckham as a team owner and Messi as the biggest star in the league. But having the World Cup, not just in the US, but also across Mexico and Canada, it's a big moment for the game, because for once, there was a comparison that came out today where people were trying to compare the viewership and the attendance for the Super Bowl and the World Cup opening game, not even the World Cup itself. And people could see with those numbers just how big football is and how big the appeal can be when you have the biggest stars, coming over to the States for it. So from a commercial point of view, it's a good thing, despite all of the other side attractions and the other, not too nice things that have happened, like the issue with the Somali referee and people being denied visas and all those kind of things. But just from a purely commercial point of view, it's been a massive success, because we've seen a great deal of interest and a great deal of commercial brands associated with it. ticket sales, we will know more when we have more figures. But from just the game in Mexico, that full house, and hopefully we'll see more ticket sales in the games that come around.
So Mexico have had their day in the sun, victory over Bafana. The United States will queue up when they play Paraguay. And depending on where you are in the world, for us here in West Africa, the wee hours of Saturday morning. About Canada, will be playing Bosnia in a few hours from now. Canada have tried twice at the World Cup in '86, and the last edition couldn't go past the group stages. Bosnia with Eddie Dzeko and the Lions.
Well,
Are
I
they
mean,
about
the difference, I'm saying the difference now with the Canadian team that you have now and the team that they had back then is that, I think a lot has improved with all the mass immigration that occurred. There's a lot of people have moved from different parts of the world to Canada. So the Canadian team is has got a lot more talent in the team. They have a lot of players who are playing in Europe. So they are not that much of a pushover. I think in Qatar we saw just how good they can be. I think that probably what they need is a good result in their first game. They have a difficult opponent, Bosnia, but we know Bosnia was the reason Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup. So they are a very, very, very good team, and Canada will need a result, probably a win or a draw, because usually when they have these big tournaments, you want the host team to do well, and I think this is probably the strongest Canadian team that I've seen in all the years that I've been following the game. So I believe that we will see an improvement, and I don't think they'll be bothered so much with the pressure because they're not a big team. So the pressure of being host, or pressure of playing against any of those teams, they'll still be underdogs even though they're playing at home. So I think that it'll be a very good and potentially historic moment for them in this game, whatever the result. The idea is just to get the Canadian fans out in large numbers. They've got games in two cities, in Toronto and Vancouver. So unlike the US that has more games, or Mexico has 3 arenas. So this will be a big moment for them if they do get the results.
great? So I'm going to try to get a few I can move you to at the end of it all. As you can see, I've got my trophy replica here with me. I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions, one of which would be who is going to win this at the end of the day. But first, which African team are you thinking advanced tolerance?
I think we have a lot of good teams in the tournament. I think Senegal, they have the quality, they've got the playing, they've got the talent, they've got in that team. They have, and of course, they have Sadio Mane, who is going to be again the leader of the team to try and inspire them. Morocco, I'm just worried about them changing their coach, but I hope that he's able to galvanize that team to still find a bit of spark in the team to try and get better, because they are one team that don't have issues with things like bonuses and allowances and all of those kind of stuff. Then you have,
Before you go to Morocco, I just want to take you on a list. Should the commentator refer to them when they play Brazil as African champion?
I think it's frozen. Okay, you're back.
Yes, I am. I get it.
Okay, so you try and speak up a bit, because it seems like sometimes your voice gets very low, then I have to just second guess what you say.
Okay, how about now? Is it better?
It's better, yes.
Okay, all right, great. So you spoke about Senegal, then you Morocco before I got caught up. But I wanted to ask, I mean, if you were on commentary for Morocco's game against Brazil, would you refer to them as African champions?
I didn't quite hear the last thing you said.
Okay.
I heard commentary, but that's all I heard.
Okay, I was only saying you had spoken about Senegal and how you keep them to travel far amongst the African contingent. Then you were talking about Morocco as well, and how you had, and I was only asking the question of if you would refer to them as African champions, were you to be on commentary for them.
Like I said, I didn't hear the last thing you said. Can you repeat it?
Okay, can you hear me now? I just want to.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now, sir?
Very well. I can hear you very well. Maybe you should do without. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I was only asking. You had spoken about Senegal and how you had high hopes for them. You had talked about Morocco as well. How you had high hopes for them. I was asking if you would refer to Morocco as African champions were you to be on commentary, on punditry duty for their game against Brazil?
I don't know if it's right to describe them as African champions, but that's what the ruling of the CAF committee says, that they are African champions. But Senegal has appealed that decision. And so Senegal still has the trophy. They've appealed that decision with CAF, and everyone will have to wait until the decision is made by CAF. I think that it's one very uncomfortable moment for Africa because, that was a game that we all saw we saw all the negatives that happened, with the Senegalese walking out of the pitch, but then they did come back, and game was concluded, trophy was handed over to the Senegalese, and then, you go to the Court of Appeal, and the decision gets taken that says the trophy should be returned. And I don't think that was a very good moment, proud moment for anybody in African football, whether it's CAF or just about everyone who's involved in the football. That was a very dark moment for us, and it's so difficult to consider Morocco as champions of Africa in that way. So I wouldn't even mention anything about champions of Africa. I'll talk about the team's pedigree rather than talk about who's the champion of Africa. If I was on commentary,
Okay.
I'll avoid it.
Okay, very understandable. So finally, as we try to wrap things up, who is the most likely winner of this? From your own point of view, who are you tipping to go all the way to win the 2026 FIFA World Cup?
Before Germany won the World Cup in 2014, there was a formula that we normally used in the years. I mean, remember, I've been on TV for over 30 years. And in that period, we've always looked at, every time the World Cup has been played in Europe, the teams from Europe usually won. And then if the tournament is played in South America or North America, teams from that's not of South America, or teams from South America usually won it. So let's go back in time. 1930, the World Cup was in Uruguay. It was won by Uruguay. 1934, tournament was in Italy, and Italy won it. In 1934, it was in France, and Italy won it. Then in 1950, it went to South America. Brazil hosted, and Uruguay won it. 54, it went to Switzerland, and Germany won it. 58, it was in Sweden, in Europe, and Brazil was the team that broke the circle. Brazil won it in 1958 in Sweden. In 1962, he went to South America, and Brazil won it. In 1966, he went to Europe, and England won. In 1970, it went to Mexico, and Brazil won. In 1974, it went to Germany as host, and Germans won. In 1978, it went to Argentina. Argentina won. 1982, it went to Europe. Spain hosted, and Italy won. In 1986, it went to Mexico, and Argentina won. That was 1986. In 1990, it went to Italy. Italian hosted, Europe, and Italians hosted, and Germany won in 90. In 94, it went to the USA. And who won? Brazil. In 1998, it went to France as hosts, and France won. That was Europe. In 2002, it was the first time the tournament went to Asia, and Korea and Japan hosted, and Brazil won. You get it? That was 2002. So 2006, it came back to Europe. Germany hosted, and Italy won. Remember, in 1990, it was the other way around. It was Italy that hosted, and Germany won. Now in 2006. So 2010, it came to Africa, first time ever, and South Africa hosted, and Spain won. If you draw a straight line from South Africa to Europe, you'll find that we are on the same, within the same latitudes, or rather, no, longitudes. 2000, that was 2010. So 2014, it went to South America. And that's what I referenced earlier. So Germany broke that circle by winning in Brazil in 2014. 2018, the World Cup was in Russia. Do you remember who won?
France.
France won. Then 2022, second time the tournament went to Asia, Argentina won. So from that circle, every time the World Cup has been played in Asia, South American teams have won it. Every time the tournament has been played in North or South America, South American teams have won it, except in 2014 when Germany won. And then in Europe, in Africa, the only time it was played, the European team won it. In Europe, every time it's been played, European teams have won it, except 1958 when Brazil won. And that was the first tournament that had Pele. So using that formula and coming now to 2026, the tournament is in Mexico, who have hosted it twice before with South American teams winning. In the US, Brazil won there before, so South American teams winning. So the chances are that the winner could come from South America. And it could be Brazil or Argentina. Messi is still there. But then there's another theory that is very funny. In all the years of the World Cup, there has never been a coach of all the winning teams from 1930 to now: Uruguay, Italy, Brazil, Germany, Italy, France, England. These are the countries that have won the World Cup. So there's only ever been 8 winners of the World Cup. Uruguay won it twice. Italy won it twice before the World War. Subsequently, it was Brazil, Germany, and till this date, not one of those teams that won the World Cup has a coach from outside of the country where they are. So if Brazil wins the World Cup, it means that it will be the first time that a coach that is non-Brazilian has led them to victory, and Carlo Ancelotti is there. England is a team that's also very good, but they have a German coach. So it means that if that theory holds, it means that between Argentina and Germany, who both have German coaches, one of them might win it. But you never know. Maybe this is the first time that theory gets broken. And I've said in another show that between Brazil and England, they might break that. But if we go by the theory that no team wins the World Cup with a foreign coach, then you got to look at who the teams are. France still has Didier Deschamps. Germany has a German coach. Argentina still has their coach from the last World Cup. And who are the missing team of winners? Uruguay. They don't look like they're good enough to win the tournament. It's Argentina, it's Germany, or could Ronaldo and Portugal win it for the first time like Pele did with Brazil in 1958? So all of this, just take all these theories and work on them and see sometimes if it's the quality of players in the team or the quality of the coaches, or these conspiracy theories that will determine who the winners are. You never know.
Okay, that's a very detailed way to go about answering the question, as you can expect from a man of your ilk. Well, I just have one final question, and then we can call it a day. Now the football has come and we can focus on matters on the pitch. And I say this because, as you also referenced previously, the World Cup has somewhat been dominated by a bit of politics, a few negative narratives and headlines. Are you confident that after 104 matches, we can look back and say, oh, we've had a terrific 2026 FIFA World Cup?
I can assure you that, in all my years, I've followed the World Cup, every tournament from 1978. 24 was just like passing, but every single one. And I can tell you that once the World Cup starts, like it has now, what will dominate the tournament will not be all of these negatives. The football will take over. The more we see the upsets, we see all of these great players scoring goals, we see the results, we see some fantastic football, we see some of the amazing things that will happen in this tournament. The more we find more headlines, it will break the circle of negativity that we've experienced in the build-up to this World Cup. Football always wins. But that's one thing I know about the World Cup. The football always wins. Eventually, it will be about the games. It will be about the football. It will be about the stars, the goals, the moments, and just the magic of the greatest show on earth. I believe that quite strongly, and it's always proven to be the story of this tournament and why we love the World Cup.
So before we call it a day on the show today, let's cross over to KT, who is standing by for EEXSport FC at the Toronto Stadium ahead of Canada versus Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Thank you, Onah, for having me. As you can see, it's the BMO Stadium in Toronto, and I'm here for EEX Sports. Fans are arriving, getting ready for today's kickoff, where the host country, Canada, will be taking on Bosnia later today. The weather looks nice, interesting, not too hot, because Toronto has recorded like hot temperatures in the last couple of days, but the Canadian fans are very upbeat and hopeful that the host country will get their first 3 points on the board as they start their World Cup journey. The city is buzzing with a lot of activities and a lot of visitors. And you can say that the World Cup spirit is well and truly alive out here. But I will continue to send you sights and sounds of Toronto as the World Cup is officially on day 2 today, and the Canadians are hoping to bag their first 3 points.
Thank you very much for that report, Katie. We're looking forward to the game and what the outcome will be, which we'll most certainly discuss right here on the World Cup Daily. Well, it's been a massive pleasure. EX Sports FC's World Cup Daily has come to an end today. Very many thanks to you for watching. Very many thanks to Emeka for his superb contribution. I want to say a big thank you to Chioma, who joined us as well. Katie from Canada couldn't last as long as we had hoped with us, but all the same, it's been fun and insightful, and we're looking forward to subsequent editions where we will talk about all of the important things in need of talking about from the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and of course, so much more. Thank you very much, Emeka, and thank you for watching as well. So don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, and of course, share. And until next time, enjoy the World Cup and keep reveling in the world of sports.